If you are considering day one CPT, definitely watch it because you'll get a good understanding of what the pros and cons are and what is it that you will need to submit in case you get an RFE, which is highly likely if you've gone through the day one CPT option. So we do have a lot of friends and we have connected with a lot of people who are actually doing day one CPT, but there is just a lot of confusion around what are the pros and cons of day one CPT. So if you could shed some light on that, that would be super helpful. And number two, I would love for you to cover if using day one CPT kind of impacts your H1B in the future in any way or possible. So based on your experience, anything you can share, pros and cons and impact on H1B about the day one CPT process will be super helpful.
Sure. So yes, CPT is kind of, it's always been a little topic with USCIS, which they frown upon. Reason being they interpret the regulations slightly different than how it is written. So the regulations tell you that if you use 12 months of practical training, then you cannot have any more practical training. But the way how we read it is that if you use 12 months of curricular practical training, then you cannot use OPT. So there is a difference between how USCIS is trying to interpret it. However, there is a very old explanation also, which we use in the RFEs and everything, and I'll discuss that a little bit. So that's the issue, that they say that if you have leveraged 12 months of practical training, then you should not be getting more work authorization on the same level of degree. So if you have done a master's, they have no problem if you're doing a PhD after a master's and doing a day one CPT. They have no issues with that. But if you're doing another master's and day one CPT, that's where their problem is, because I understand the concern, because if you look at it, some people who cannot get picked up in lottery, they keep on doing masters after masters. And I have seen cases where the person is in their fourth master already because they're not picked up. From USCIS point of view, then you can just stay here indefinitely as a student and keep working as a day one CPT and keep on getting master's degree after master's degree. So that's where their concern is. But the whole point is, if the regulation allows it and you have a problem with this kind of people using it in a way, you have to plug it through regulations. Until that clarification comes, some regulatory, clarification comes on it, it's perfectly all right as long as it meets the requirement of the CPT. Now, what are the requirements of the CPT? It has to be directly related to the major of your study. And the second requirement is that it has to be an integral part of the curriculum. Now, that's where the problem comes. Some schools let you do this even day one CPT. You fine, do it. But when RFE comes, and definitely 99.9% an RFE will come if you are doing a day one CPT. I have not had a denial on an RFE such that, because when you provide the documentation and align with the regulations, it gets approved. But yes, you have to know what all documents you will need, and you have to collect those documents throughout your CPT program, so that if the RFE comes, you can present all those documents. So it's very important to make sure whichever school you're taking admission in, the CPT is an integral part of your course, which means they definitely say that you have to do a practical training. That's part of your course. It's not an optional. So it's not a optional CPT, it's a required CPT in that case. So for an optional CPT, you have to work somewhere in directly field of your study, but the school doesn't require you to do that. If you want to do it out of your own sweet will, please go ahead and do it. In most of the cases, you get a credit for that. So if you're doing a 3-month CPT somewhere, they will give you 1 credit or 2 credits, and that will show and reflect in your transcript. Okay. But in required one, there will be in every semester or every trimester, there will be 1 course listed in your transcript. That's a mandatory course, and you have to do that. And that's towards the practical training, which you're going to do as CPT day 1. So that's the most important thing, that it has to be integral part of the course. The course has to say that to complete this course, you need the practical training for which you have to work. So that's the difference between OPT and CPT. CPT is while you are studying, you're doing your practical training. OPT is you have finished your academic course and now you're taking the practical experience. So that's the CPT. Con is so pros and cons. Pros is obviously you get another year, another chance. You're continuing to stay here, continuing to work, continue to study, and then you get to go for lottery again. Cons are, again, I did, like I mentioned, they don't like it because if they're like everybody is using it, and there are some universities who are heavily used for these purposes, and well, so they look at it from suspicious point of view. They want to look at all the documents. They want to see that you have actually submitted the assignments. They want to see that you admitted that you actually traveled and pre-COVID, that you physically went and did the classes there. Now we show that it's all Zoom, and the ICE policy on remote classes has not changed yet. So for the last 2 years since 2020, we have just been relying on their policy that they're still maintaining this online classes, and they're maintaining their status because they're doing it as per your policy. But those are the requirements, that you have to show physical presence in the school. You have to show that you have submitted the assignments. You have to show that you have paid for the tuition. You basically everything that a student would do to maintain a full-time student status, you have to comply with those, in addition to, oh, you're not just doing it like not submitting it, just enrolled in a school and basically just working, not using the F1 student as a status just to, which gives you a right to work, but you also have to show that you are completing your degree. You're complying with all the requirements of the school, and you are on path to get your degree in a timely manner, whatever the requirements are. As long as all the documentation is there, you're fine. Obviously, the response has to be prepared in that way. But apart from few months in Trump administration era, where there was some memos had come out that clearly said that it's going to be considered as a lawful status. All those have been taken back. So right now we are back to where we were pre-Trump. So definitely RFE will come if you run CPT, but if you have all the documentation, high likelihood that you will get an approval.
Thank you so much. And if you are considering day one CPT, definitely watch it, because you'll get a good understanding of what the pros and cons are, and what is it that you will need to submit in case you get an RFU, which is highly likely if you've gone through the day one CPT option. So definitely check out this video. Thank you so much again, Sonal, for your time and covering the topic. I know it's top of mind for a lot of people who follow its OKR. And for anyone who's watching, if you liked it, please leave a comment below. Let us know if you'd like us to bring Sonal back for any particular topic as well. We are happy to cover that. Would love to hear from you. Please like, share, and subscribe. Share it with someone who would find it helpful. Till next time, this is Priya from It's OKR. Have a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much, Sonal.
Thank you, Priya. Take care. Bye.
I'll just stop.